Hello, guys, and welcome to my first and hopefully my last TED Talk. I'm going to be presenting on nature and overall health. So my research question is, what are the physical and psychological outcomes of spending time in nature? Before we begin, I'd like to start with a quote from Theodore Roosevelt. He says, "There is a delight in the hardy life or the open. There are no words that can tell the hidden spirit of the wilderness." So the reason I chose this topic is because I love the outdoors. I've spent almost my whole life outdoors, and multiple experiences have made me really appreciate it, including when I went to Alaska. We spent like 9 hours every day fishing, and it kind of really made me understand the effects of nature. That's why I want to pursue this project. Quick overview of my project. So the effects I found from spending time in nature is improved mental health, meaning stress reduction, anxiety reduction, and mood enhancement. Physical health, the main thing I found was blood pressure. And for cognitive health, I found that spending time in nature can improve your attention and memory. But before we get into it, it's important to understand how these effects happen. And that is with these neurotransmitters right here. We have dopamine, primarily associated with pleasure and reward. Dopamine activates the brain's reward system, motivating us to repeat the same rewarding behaviors. Spending time in nature can actually really boost dopamine production. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter and neurohormone that plays a big role in influencing feelings of pleasure, motivation, and learning. And it also affects other things like movement and sleep. Next, we have endorphins. When you spend time in nature, it can boost endorphin production, especially when exercising. And that's doing activities as little as walking or as active as biking. And this promotes feelings of well-being and happiness by reducing stress and anxiety levels. Endorphins are natural pain relievers produced by the brain, and they are released in response to pain, stress, or pleasurable activities, like spending time in nature. And next we have oxytocin. Oxytocin, often called the love hormone, is a peptide hormone and neurotransmitter produced in the brain. Oxytocin is linked to positive experiences in nature, potentially reducing stress and promoting feelings of trust and well-being. Oxytocin also plays a key role in social bonding and attachment, both with other humans and potentially even with nature. And lastly, we have serotonin. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter and a neurohormone that plays a crucial role in regulating mood, stress, anxiety, and sleep, and other functions, similar to the rest of them. When you spend time in nature, obviously your serotonin levels significantly increase. This can regulate happiness, calmness, and even focus. Serotonin also influences how the body responds to pain. And next we have cortisol. Cortisol is a steroid hormone, often referred to as a stress hormone. Cortisol helps the body cope with stress, but cortisol also plays a major role in maintaining a stable blood pressure as well as blood glucose levels. High cortisol is associated with high blood pressure, anxiety, and mood changes, as well as weight gain. And low cortisol is associated with low blood pressure, fatigue, and even weakness. First effect I found, mental health. So the first study I looked at for mental health was put out by a group of researchers from Japan. Participants were assigned to walk around for 30 minutes or so, and researchers tested saliva for cortisol to evaluate stress. But after the experiment, researchers found that a 13.4% decrease in cortisol after viewing nature, and a 15.8% decrease in cortisol after walking in nature. I thought this was pretty interesting because it shows how not just being in nature, but looking at nature can actually improve your mental health. Next study I looked at was put out by another group of researchers from Japan. They found significant data, and they collected around 155 adolescents for this test. They evaluated them using different tests that evaluate mood, and after the experiment, the researchers noted that a 10% increase in nature in one's average daily environment is associated with a 2.75% decrease in reported mood disturbances. So this kind of shows how just a small portion of your day spent outside can actually drastically improve your mood. And blood pressure. In this study, 16 participants were assigned to go outside in an urban environment and a natural environment. They were tested for their systolic and diastolic blood pressure. And systolic blood pressure is the force of blood flow when your heart is being pumped when your blood is being pumped from your heart, and diastolic is measured between the heartbeats when the heart is filling with blood. So basically, after the experiment, the researchers added that walking in the forest reduced blood pressure, while walking in the urban environment didn't. Now, as you can see in these graphs, we have people that walked in the urban environment on top and the people that walked in the forest environment on the bottom. And as you can see, they maintained lower blood pressure levels throughout the whole experiment. So that's pretty interesting. The next study I looked at for blood pressure was put out by Jin Park, another researcher from Japan. They also found significant evidence for blood pressure. Just like a lot of these other experiments, participants were asked to spend 30 minutes viewing nature and 30 minutes walking in nature. After the experiment, researchers found a 1.7% decrease after walking in nature and a 1.9% decrease after viewing nature for systolic blood pressure. While for diastolic blood pressure, researchers found a 1.6% decrease after viewing nature and a 2.1% decrease after walking in nature. And the next effect I looked at was cognition. In a study put out by Mark Berman, significant results were found. 38 subjects were required and asked to take a 50-minute walk outdoors. Participants then completed the backwards digit span task, which is a attention memory performance test which requires participants to repeat digit sequences backwards. Then a week later, participants repeated the process, but in an urban environment. After this experiment, researchers found that performance on the backwards digit span significantly improved when participants walked in nature, however, not when they walked in the urban environment. This shows how urban environments may potentially be harmful, while green spaces improve your cognition. In addition to this, recent studies have shown how spending time outdoors during school can actually improve your cognition as well. In this study, 82 students from 4th and 5th grade were collected. Researchers ran 2 studies, one in an urban environment and one in a natural environment. Researchers used multiple cognitive performance tasks, like the backwards digit span one, which I touched on previously. After the study, researchers found that after spending a recess outside, students performed a lot better on the cognitive performance tasks. So why does all of this matter? Well, this matters because nature is a free, accessible therapy option for people that are stressed, anxious, or even depressed. This research can be used to help others that are stressed or anxious, or even others that have high blood pressure. And this research shows how nature could also potentially be an alternative to medications. Ultimately, the connection between nature and well-being shows the need to integrate nature into our daily lives as a helpful tool to improve our overall mental and physical well-being. Thank you very much.